In the heart of Italy's volcanic highlands, where iron deposits lay hidden beneath rich earth and veins of copper snaked through mountain ranges, a civilization arose that would precede Rome's global dominion. These people, who identified themselves as the Raena, are known to history by their Roman appellation, the Etruscans. Around the year 1000 BC, modest hamlets were scattered across the landscape, stretching from the Arno River to the Tiber. These were the Villanovan people, who practiced cremation, placing their deceased's ashes in ceramic containers fashioned to resemble small dwellings. At Pandava, near Tarquinia, artisans discovered that blending tin with copper yielded bronze, a metal considerably stronger than either component alone. Their workshops generated not only implements and weaponry, but also intricate clasps adorned with geometric designs, which laid the groundwork for a distinctive Etruscan artistic heritage. The volcanic terrain that molded their existence was not merely a geographical happenstance. Mount Amiata and the Colline Metallifere held some of the most abundant mineral riches in the ancient Mediterranean basin. Iron ore extracted from Elber could be smelted into tools that retained their sharpness far longer than bronze. Silver mined in mountain valleys facilitated the acquisition of luxuries from distant lands. The very earth offered prosperity to those who possessed the knowledge to excavate it. Iron wrought a profound transformation. Around 900 BC, Villanovan smiths mastered the intricate process of smelting iron ore at temperatures surpassing 1500 degrees Celsius. Unlike bronze, which necessitated costly imports of tin, iron ore was readily available in the local hills. A farmer equipped with an iron plow could cultivate ground that had previously resisted bronze tools. Warriors wielding iron spears possessed a decisive advantage over adversaries armed with bronze. This societal shift occurred within a single generation. Hilltop settlements expanded as agricultural abundance sustained growing populations. Excavations at Veii reveal a settlement that controlled iron mines extending for 15 kilometers into the surrounding terrain. The ruling families who managed these resources amassed fortunes that distinguished them from common farmers and artisans. Burial customs offer insights into evolving social strata. Early Villanovan graves contained simple pottery and bronze adornments. By 850 BC, elite burials at Tarquinia showcased elaborate bronze armor, imported Greek ceramics, and gold jewelry crafted using techniques acquired from Phoenician traders. The graves of women yielded bronze mirrors, ivory combs, and amber beads that had journeyed overland from the Baltic Sea, attesting to extensive European trade networks. These international connections facilitated the exchange of more than just opulent goods. Phoenician traders sailing from Carthage established outposts along the Italian coast, bartering purple dye and rare spices for Italian metals. Greek colonists founding cities in southern Italy introduced alphabetic writing and artistic styles that local craftspeople ingeniously adapted to their own traditions. The Amber Route, linking the Baltic region to the Mediterranean, traversed central Italian territories directly, enriching local rulers who acted as intermediaries in Europe's most lucrative trade nexus. The Etruscans occupied elevated positions that commanded river valleys and mountain passes. Unlike neighboring populations who favored fertile lowlands, they chose defensible heights, offering both military security and a perceived divine favor. Lightning strikes were more frequent on hilltops than in valleys, interpreted as a sign that celestial deities favored elevated locations. Each settlement governed the agricultural land below, while maintaining autonomy from neighboring city-states. Religious practices were centered on divination, the interpretation of divine will through natural phenomena. Lightning strikes were seen as messages from Tinia, the sky god. The flight patterns of birds revealed future occurrences. The entrails of sacrificed animals displayed divine favor or disapproval of human actions. These beliefs necessitated specialists skilled in celestial movements, animal behavior, and ritual procedures. Priests garnered both religious authority and political influence as the sole interpreters of divine communication. Women held a status unparalleled in most ancient societies. Tomb frescoes depict couples reclining together at banquets, women participating in sacred ceremonies, and female figures wielding evident authority. The Lady Tanquil, whose narrative would later scandalize Roman chroniclers, embodied traditions already centuries old by her era. Women possessed property, conducted business, and exerted influence on political decisions in ways that set Rihanna society apart from the male-dominated cultures of Greece and early Rome. The question of their ultimate origins remains unresolved despite centuries of inquiry. Herodotus asserted they migrated from Lydia during a severe famine. Dionysius of Halicarnassus maintained they were indigenous to Italy. Contemporary DNA analysis presents a multifaceted picture. The individuals interred in Etruscan tombs carried genetic markers from both local Italian populations and Eastern Mediterranean groups, suggesting migration and intermarriage rather than simple displacement. Their language offers the most perplexing clues. Unlike Latin, Greek, or Celtic tongues, it belongs to no known linguistic family. Thousands of inscriptions survive, primarily tomb markers, religious dedications, and ritual texts. We can decipher individual words and grasp basic grammar, but extended texts stubbornly guard their secrets. The language's isolation suggests either very ancient origins or derivation from a tradition now entirely lost. The earliest Etruscan inscriptions date to around 700 BC, adapted from Greek alphabets but modified for local phonetics and structures. Literacy initially remained confined to elite families, but writing fundamentally altered how knowledge was preserved and conveyed. Religious rites, legal proceedings, and historical events could now be permanently recorded, supplanting reliance on oral tradition. Technological advancement accelerated throughout this period. The potter's wheel, arriving around 650 BC, revolutionized ceramic production. Wheeled transport transformed mobility possibilities. Advanced metallurgy yielded stronger alloys and more refined decorative techniques. Mathematical understanding enabled architects to calculate the load-bearing requirements for increasingly ambitious construction projects. Settlement layouts reflected both practical necessities and religious mandates. Temples faced eastward to greet the rising sun. City gateways were aligned with celestial observations. Public edifices occupied sacred spaces determined by ritual divination. The hilltop metropolis of Veii expanded to cover over 400 hectares, fortified by massive defensive walls constructed from precisely fitted stone blocks, each weighing several tons. Trade relationships extended across the known world. Etruscan bronzes reached markets in Spain and North Africa. Italian wines were conveyed to Greek symposiums and Celtic feasts. Amber from the Baltic Sea was intricately carved into jewelry for Etruscan nobles. These commercial networks necessitated sophisticated systems for standardizing weights, measures, and currency, innovations that would later influence Roman economic practices. Social stratification grew increasingly pronounced as wealth coalesced among families controlling mineral resources and international commerce. Elite residences featured multiple rooms arranged around central courtyards, while common citizens resided in single-room dwellings. Tomb architecture mirrored these distinctions. Aristocratic lineages constructed elaborate stone chambers adorned with frescoes and furnished with luxury items, whereas common burials contained simple pottery and personal trinkets. Military organization mirrored social hierarchies. Elite warriors served as heavily armored infantry, their bronze armor and iron weaponry signifying their status. Rank-and-file soldiers functioned as light infantry or support personnel. Warfare between neighboring settlements intensified as competition for trade routes and mineral resources escalated. Fortifications became more sophisticated, incorporating complex gate systems and overlapping defensive positions. Artistic traditions underwent rapid evolution during this formative era. Bronze work advanced from utilitarian objects to elaborate ceremonial pieces, showcasing both technical prowess and aesthetic vision. Pottery styles integrated influences from Greek, Phoenician, and indigenous traditions into distinctly Etruscan forms. Architecture developed characteristic features, including the distinctive three-room temple design that would influence Roman architectural practices for centuries. Religious architecture attained monumental proportions as settlements grew wealthier. Temple complexes served not merely as places of worship, but as community hubs where religious, political, and economic activities converged. The Grand Temple at Veii necessitated precise engineering to support its massive roof structure, without the need for internal columns, a technical triumph demonstrating both mathematical sophistication and profound religious devotion. By 800 BC, the foundations of Etruscan power were firmly established. Autonomous city-states governed territories from the Arno to the Tiber. Specialized artisans produced goods that competed successfully in Mediterranean markets. Religious traditions had evolved into sophisticated systems for interpreting divine will and structuring human society. Trade networks linked Italian settlements with merchants from Spain to Syria. The hilltop villages that had originated as simple agricultural communities were transforming into something unprecedented in Italian history. A confederation of affluent, independent city-states whose influence would soon extend far beyond their volcanic homeland. Kings would emerge to challenge the most formidable powers of the ancient world. Armies would march south to subjugate Greek colonies and north to secure alpine passes. Artists and architects would create works of enduring beauty and innovation. The stage was set for the subsequent chapter, the rise of great cities that would render the Etruscan name synonymous with power, wealth, and cultural achievement throughout the ancient Mediterranean. The elevated settlements, which had prospered from iron and commerce, now transformed into an unprecedented entity in Italian history, a confederation of powerful city-states that would dominate the peninsula for centuries. What emerged was the Dotapus, the League of 12 centers that shared sacred traditions and cultural practices while jealously guarding their political and military independence. 12 major centers formed the sacred nucleus of Riena power, though their exact composition fluctuated over time as certain settlements ascended while others declined. Veii commanded the critical river crossings of the Tiber, its imposing fortifications enclosing agricultural lands capable of sustaining 100,000 inhabitants during sieges. Tarquinia controlled coastal shipping lanes and boasted the most opulent tomb paintings of the ancient world. Its necropolis contained over 6,000 decorated chambers hewn into limestone cliffs. Caire, known to its inhabitants as Kaisra, prospered from its port at Pyrgi and dominated salt production along 60 kilometers of coastline. Volterra, perched atop volcanic hills, contained copper mines extending deep into subterranean galleries, their shafts reaching depths not to be surpassed until medieval times. Populonia controlled the iron trade from Elba, its harbor teeming with cargo vessels, transporting processed metal throughout the Mediterranean. Roselle governed river valleys that yielded surplus grain for export markets. Cosa dominated mountain passes that connected central Italy with Celtic lands beyond the Alps. Cortona ruled fertile agricultural districts that supplied wine to luxury markets across the known world. Arezzo managed strategic road networks linking the Adriatic and Tyrrhenian coasts. Falaise commanded river crossings that regulated movement between northern and central regions. Orvieto occupied volcanic plateaus that provided natural defenses against any conceivable assault. The 12th member varied depending on political circumstances and military fortunes. Sometimes Fiesole joined the Sacred League through marital alliances with established members. Occasionally, prosperous colonies like Sapua in Campania asserted their claim for recognition based on their economic contributions to shared ventures. The Confederation functioned less as a fixed political structure and more as a flexible alliance that adapted to evolving circumstances while preserving core tenets of mutual respect and shared identity. Political organization within each center followed similar patterns, allowing for local variations. Kings governed through a combination of inherited authority, priestly sanction, and popular consensus. Unlike the absolute monarchs emerging in eastern Mediterranean kingdoms, Riena rulers governed through councils of nobles who retained substantial independent power. These aristocratic assemblies controlled vast estates, commanded private armies, and influenced royal decisions through intricate networks of kinship, marriage, and economic partnership. The Lucumones, as the Romans would later refer to these kings, derived their legitimacy from their capacity to interpret divine will and maintain cosmic equilibrium. Each ruler underwent elaborate coronation ceremonies that incorporated complex divination rituals designed to confirm divine approval. The king received sacred regalia, including the purple robe, ivory scepter, and golden crown, which signified his special relationship with the gods. These symbols held such profound religious significance that Roman magistrates would later adopt them as emblems of imperium. Beneath the aristocratic elite, a significant middle stratum emerged, encompassing prosperous merchants, skilled artisans, and professional soldiers. These citizens owned comfortable residences, commissioned modest tomb monuments, and participated in civic festivals without attaining the wealth and status of noble families. Their emergence reflected the economic opportunities generated by expanding commerce and technological innovation. A master potter could accumulate sufficient wealth to acquire land and enslaved persons. A successful bronze worker might establish workshops employing dozens of apprentices and specialists. Urban planning achieved unprecedented sophistication as settlements expanded beyond their original defensive perimeters. Veii encompassed over 400 hectares, making it one of the largest cities in the ancient world. Its urban designers meticulously laid out residential districts according to grid patterns, separating aristocratic mansions from artisan workshops and commercial hubs. Broad avenues connected major gateways with central temples and market squares. Secondary thoroughfares provided access to residential neighborhoods, while maintaining appropriate spatial relationships between sacred and secular domains. Water management systems rivaled those of any contemporary civilization. Engineers designed elaborate drainage networks that channeled rainwater away from urban centers, while preventing the erosion of hillside foundations. At Veii, laborers carved tunnels through solid rock to divert the Cremera River, preventing seasonal flooding. These subterranean channels, known as cuniculi, extended for kilometers underground, demanding precise surveying techniques and a sophisticated understanding of hydraulic principles. Some channels featured inspection shafts, ventilation systems, and access points for maintenance, facilitating repairs and modifications. Architectural innovations influenced building practices throughout the Mediterranean world. Temple designers developed the distinctive three-room layout, reflecting theological principles concerning divine triads. The central sanctuary housed the primary deity's statue, while flanking chambers accommodated associated gods and ritual implements. Unlike Greek temples constructed entirely of stone, Raena's sacred edifices utilized wooden frameworks that supported elaborate terracotta decorations. This technique permitted more vibrant ornamentation while reducing construction costs and completion times. The renowned temple at Veii, dedicated to Minerva, exemplified the artistic heights achieved through terracotta sculpture. The Apollo of Veii, created around 500 BC, depicted the god striding forward with supernatural energy, his robes billowing in a divine wind, his expression merging human beauty with otherworldly power. The figure's technical execution, from the precise modeling of musculature to the intricate details of drapery, rivaled the finest Greek marble sculptures while achieving effects unattainable in stone. Sacred architecture adhered to stringent ritualistic requirements governing every aspect, from foundation ceremonies to roof ornaments. Temples faced east to capture the rising sun, their entrance stairs oriented according to celestial alignments. The ritual boundaries, known as the temenos, demarcated sacred space through elaborate surveying procedures involving the oral interpretation of natural signs. These boundaries held such profound spiritual significance that crossing them without proper authorization constituted a capital offense. Divination evolved into a comprehensive discipline, requiring decades of specialized training. The practice of haruspicy involved reading divine messages inscribed upon the entrails of sacrificial animals. Practitioners meticulously studied the liver's surface, noting variations in color, texture, and anatomical features that indicated divine intentions. A bronze liver discovered at Piacenza illustrates the complexity of this system, its surface divided into dozens of sections, each corresponding to specific deities and types of divine communication. Lightning interpretation followed equally sophisticated principles. Observers meticulously recorded the direction, timing, and characteristics of electrical storms, correlating these phenomena with subsequent events to develop predictive frameworks. The sky was partitioned into 16 regions, each governed by particular deities who employed lightning to convey approval, warning, or command. Patterns of thunder, cloud formations, and associated weather phenomena all carried specific meanings that trained specialists could interpret. Bird augury demanded extensive knowledge of avian behavior and migratory patterns. Different species conveyed distinct types of messages. Eagles symbolized royal authority, while owls signified wisdom or impending doom. Flight directions, vocalizations, and feeding behaviors all provided information regarding divine intentions. The most adept augurs could forecast military outcomes, agricultural prospects, and political developments through careful observation of natural signs. These divinatory practices were codified in sacred texts that preserved centuries of accumulated wisdom. The Libri Haruspicini detailed proper procedures for reading entrails. The Libri Fulgurales explained the interpretation of lightning. The Libri Rituales covered ceremonial requirements for various occasions. These texts represented some of the earliest systematic attempts to organize religious knowledge according to rational principles. Economic systems combined state management with private enterprise in ways that maximized both innovation and stability. Royal administrations oversaw vast agricultural estates that employed thousands of dependent laborers. These workers resided in village communities dispersed throughout the countryside, their obligations regulated by customary law that balanced royal demands with traditional rights. The estates produced grain, wine, olive oil, and livestock, supplying urban populations while generating surpluses for international markets. Textile production reached industrial scales within workshops that housed hundreds of female laborers. These facilities produced fine fabrics utilizing techniques acquired from Phoenician and Greek artisans, yet adapted to local materials and market demands. Wool from mountain sheep was processed into waterproof cloaks suitable for northern European clientele. Linen from river valleys was fashioned into luxurious garments for affluent Mediterranean buyers. Fine textiles, originating from the furthest reaches of Asia, were ingeniously rewoven into attire that artfully blended imported materials with uniquely local aesthetic sensibilities. Centers renowned for their metalworking achieved unparalleled levels of output due to advancements in technology and the strategic organization of specialized labor. Foundries producing bronze developed novel alloy combinations, resulting in manufactured goods of superior strength and extended durability. Workshops specializing in iron-perfected techniques for temperature regulation, enabling the creation of steel implements centuries before such methodologies became commonplace globally. Artisans working with precious metals crafted exquisite jewelry and decorative artifacts that showcased both exceptional technical skill and a profound artistic vision. Banking infrastructures evolved to effectively accommodate and facilitate increasingly intricate commercial exchanges. Affluent families devised credit arrangements that provided the necessary funding for extensive long-distance expeditions and seasonal agricultural undertakings. Interest rates were subject to variation, contingent upon risk evaluations that meticulously considered factors such as the safety of trade routes, prevailing weather patterns, and the prevailing political climate. Certain financial establishments maintained operational presence in numerous locations, empowering merchants to access capital and transfer assets seamlessly across differing territorial jurisdictions. The introduction of coinage fundamentally transformed commercial interactions during the 7th century before the Common Era. The earliest coins, belonging to the Ravenna, featured minimalist engravings, often limited to royal insignia or depictions of deities. However, their consistent weights and guaranteed purity effectively obviated the necessity for elaborate weighing and testing protocols. Monetary units crafted from silver facilitated transactions involving substantial value, while denominations minted from bronze accommodated everyday purchases. Several prominent centers devised distinct monetary frameworks that reflected their indigenous resources and prevailing commercial priorities. Maritime trade experienced exponential growth as merchants established enduring trading posts throughout the western Mediterranean basin. Fiji, the vital port serving Sherviteri, rapidly ascended to become one of the most active harbors in the ancient world. Its extensive storage facilities accommodated a vast array of commodities procured from across the known globe, including Lebanese cedar, Spanish silver, African ivory, Celtic amber, and rare spices from lands situated beyond the legendary Pillars of Hercules. The port's infrastructure boasted specialized docking areas catering to diverse vessel types, covered storage structures designed to shield valuable merchandise from atmospheric damage, and administrative edifices where customs officials diligently recorded transactions and levied duties. Trading ventures successfully penetrated markets that had remained unexplored by their Greek and Phoenician rivals. Seafarers from Resonus ventured along Atlantic coastlines, forging commercial relationships with Celtic tribes residing in southern France and eastern Spain. These northern connections proved exceptionally advantageous, granting access to essential tin deposits vital for bronze manufacturing and sources of amber that supplied the discerning luxury markets of the Mediterranean. While some expeditions may have potentially reached the shores of Britain, concrete evidence substantiating such contacts remains elusive and fragmentary. Overland commerce followed established pathways that linked Italian settlements with Alpine crossings and the extensive river systems of Europe. Merchants transported goods along meticulously maintained roadways, which were equipped with amenities such as rest stops, strategic defensive emplacements, and storage depots. Pack animals were utilized for the conveyance of high-value, low-weight items, including intricate metalwork and opulent textiles. Wheeled conveyances were employed for the transport of bulk commodities such as grains and wines. These intricate networks necessitated the negotiation of diplomatic accords with a multitude of tribal groups and political entities, thereby cultivating relationships that extended Riena influence far beyond their contiguous territories. Agricultural advancements provided sustenance for burgeoning populations, while concurrently enhancing the nutritional quality and diversity of diets. Cultivators developed sophisticated techniques for viticulture, yielding wines celebrated for their exceptional flavor and remarkable longevity. Specific grape varietals were meticulously paired with particular soil compositions and microclimatic conditions, fostering regional specializations that carved out distinct market niches. The cultivation of olives expanded across territories previously deemed unsuitable, employing innovative grafting techniques and soil enrichment methodologies that significantly boosted both crop yield and the quality of the produce. Grain production incorporated novel varietals and farming practices that diminished reliance on weather variability. Crop rotation systems were implemented to sustain soil fertility while optimizing land utilization efficiency. Storage methodologies were refined to preserve surplus harvests for extended periods, serving as a safeguard against crop failures and enabling the strategic distribution of food supplies during exigencies. Certain agricultural estates specialized in the production of specific crops destined for export markets, thereby establishing agricultural systems that bore a striking resemblance to the contemporary commercial farming operations. Artistic traditions experienced a renaissance, as newfound prosperity provided the resources necessary for cultural patronage and international artistic exchange. The art of bronze working reached unprecedented levels of sophistication through innovations in casting methodologies, alloy formulations, and decorative embellishments. The renowned Capitoline wolf, despite ongoing debate regarding its precise dating, stands as a testament to the expressive power achieved by Ravenna metal artisans. The creature's portrayal of muscular tension, its alert demeanor, and its protective posture towards the fabled twins encapsulate both keen naturalistic observation and profound symbolic meaning. Pottery production underwent transformative changes with the advent of bucchero, a distinctive black ceramic that became intrinsically associated with Ravenna craftsmanship. This technique involved sophisticated firing processes that yielded lustrous surfaces without the necessity of costly glazes. Bucchero vessels were characterized by their elegant forms and subtle decorative accents, which appealed to both domestic consumers and international buyers. The most exquisite example